friends. My name is Lindsay Weirich, also known as the Frugal Crafter, and you are listening to the Frugal Crafter Blog-cast. With me today, I have Sarah Burns from Sarah Burns Studio. She is a wonderfully talented landscape painter, artist, and just all-around awesome person who agreed to be my guinea pig for my first interview on my podcast. How are you doing today, Sarah?
Hi, thank you. Wow, what a nice intro. I'm doing really well. I've been looking forward to this because I watch all of your YouTube videos. I really enjoy your sat chats. I always have those on in the background while I'm working. So this is kind of the same vibe. Like we're just chatting about stuff we love. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm so excited to pick your brain because I watch your videos too. And what I really love is you're not afraid to just jump in with something new. One day you're doing gouache, the next day you're doing watercolor. Then I see you out plein air painting with markers. And meanwhile, I went to the Inktober retreat and I brought like this set of like 300 markers with me. I'm like, this would have been more fun with like five markers and just
Oh
wandering around. But it's
gosh.
like,
Yeah, no, I think it's almost like a curse though, because I can't do the same thing all the time. I have to be doing something different all the time. And I envy the people who can pick one thing and really focus on it and hone in on their craft. And, it's always, the grass is always greener, right? Like they have their own struggles and want to achieve certain things. But I just do think it would be nice to focus on one thing for like a whole year, but I could never do it. I have art ADD, if you want to call it that. I just have to be doing something different all the time to stay happy.
I totally understand that. And I think that when you get stuck on one project or in one media, if just switch gears and grab something else, when you're working with that new product, a lot of times that problem you're having with the other painting or the other media, something clicks and it's like, oh, I didn't think about doing this. And then you can run back to the first one and get
Yeah.
yourself out of
Oh, that's
whatever
so
stumbling
true.
block.
Yeah, I've
So
experienced
what
that a
would you
lot
say
as
is,
well.
I'm sorry,
It's okay.
what would
It's always tricky to like not talk over each other or finish the sentence and yeah, I get it.
Yes, especially since we're so far away. You're in Scotland and I'm in Maine, USA. So there's
I
probably some
know. We have
digital
slight
lag.
delay, but not hopefully it will come across well in the audio podcast.
Let's hope this is first time, guys. Just be
Yeah.
gentle with us. So what product or what supply do you think you come back to more often than the others?
I would definitely say watercolor, because it's just so I get into a very free mindset when I use watercolor, even though I still do with drawing and ink and gouache and everything. Watercolor just is inherently you can use it so spontaneously and fluidly, and I'm really drawn to that. I've always loved abstract art, so in a way, like I like making pieces of the painting almost abstract, and it's really fun to do that with watercolor. And I like being surprised by my mediums, and it kind of helps me follow that vein of curiosity when I'm painting. So yeah, I would say watercolor is something I fall back on constantly, and I do the most, especially in my free time. I maybe don't make videos about it all the time. I really enjoy making drawing or ink or gouache videos because I'm trying to get better at those things and explore those things. So I find it's just a fun way to explore it when you're sharing it with someone. But yeah, in my own free time, when I'm not talking to anyone or recording anything, watercolor is my go-to thing. And I always keep a little sketchbook and painting kit on the couch with me. And my husband and I will be watching some show or something, and I'm just sitting there painting and sketching and making a giant mess.
Oh, same here. I've got little hidey holes all over the house where I stash art
Yeah.
supplies, little mini desks here and there, and random drawers where I tuck stuff because I don't know. I guess I like to be busy, or I have an idea, but I don't want to be holed up in my studio down here in the
Yeah.
basement. I want to be,
Yeah.
with other people and
Yeah. Actually,
cozy and
lately, or
comfortable.
this winter especially, I've embraced painting in bed. I never used to do that, but
Oh,
now I just get like all the duvets and just cozy up with a cup of coffee and just get my usually it's like a portable painter, so something easy and less likely to spill, or just ink or something. I don't know, something not definitely not gouache. Gouache is probably my messiest medium, so I avoid doing that on the couch or in bed. But it is just a very relaxing pastime.
That's really interesting, and I would love to hear the setup of the in-bed painting because I know several of our viewers have physical limitations, or maybe they're on bed rest for a pregnancy, or they just can't get up and be mobile around running into a studio, setting up a
Yeah.
large workspace, and that's a space they have. So, can you explain your layout
Yeah.
for when you're like sitting in bed and painting?
I totally get that. One of the main reasons I started doing it is because I hurt my back a while ago, and it was just I just needed to lay down for a few hours, and I was like, I'm not the kind of person who can just lay there and do nothing. So I'm gonna sketch. I'm gonna paint. What I usually do is get really big pillows and prop myself up, so I'm kind of sitting upright, and I just like bring my knees up and balance my sketchbook on my knees. Or I also do have one of those like foldable table. It's like a serving table almost that you can put over your legs, and
Hmm.
it's not too high or anything, but it's just a big flat surface, a stable surface. So I could put like my little palette on that if I want to. But most of the time, I'm just using, I don't know where it is, but my portable painter because it's so easy and stable. I don't have to worry about it tipping over as often. And I can just kind of like nestle it into the blankets or on that little tray table thing. And I just use, sometimes I'll just use a water brush with a tiny, my micro, portable painter micro, which is really easy to, it's just, flat on the bottom. So it typically doesn't spill. And a water brush is very portable, very easy. And I typically keep my sketches smaller. So I'm not doing like big finished studio pieces or anything like that. Just a little sketchbook, little kit, a little setup. And I'll put my iPad next to me if I'm using reference photos or having music or something on. So it's a
Oh, that's great
very
advice.
relaxed setup, I would say.
Oh,
Nothing,
nice, nice.
yeah, it's almost similar to my painting, my setup outside a lot of times, actually. Like, yeah, just small.
Yeah, that's great. Do you get out much this time of year to do plein air painting?
Yeah, well, today I went to the coast for about 2 or 3 hours to sketch. I'm actually working on a video, so I don't know when this will air, but you might see it by the time you hear this. I got some new pens that I wanted to test out. So I try to go out at least once a week, even though it is freezing. But some weeks it is just so stormy and rainy, like raining nonstop. I'm not gonna go out in that. But this today was the first time in maybe like 7 6 7 days that I got to go out. But it's always very
That's
short sessions. Like go out, pick a spot, 15 minutes, move to a different spot. Because if I don't move, I get way colder. So I try to kind of keep that going. And it's really great for encouraging you to not get too precious with something. Pick a small, doable subject or part of a scene and practice your hand-eye coordination. Drawing it maybe is a good option for this time of year because you're not lugging around a ton of equipment, and at least here in Scotland it's so humid that it takes forever to dry when it's colder. So I
oh.
typically avoid wet, really wet medium if I can. If I'm using watercolor, it's a very light wash at the most, like one layer. And watercolor pencils are pretty good for that. You can use that with a water brush. But today it was just ink. It was just drawing. So it was very relaxing. And it was just this cute little coastal town, painting little views that I could see. And it was wonderful because it was finally sunny.
Oh,
Rare
nice. Was it
here
ink like
this
a
time of year.
micron pen?
It is called a Pilot Parallel Pen. I've never heard
Okay.
of it before. It's been around forever, but I just started seeing it on a couple Urban Sketcher posts that I saw, and I was like, I'm going to give it a try because it has a really wide metal nib. It's like a flat, wide metal nib. It's so different to anything I've ever used. I use a lot of different fountain pens, and this one, the one thing I struggle with pens or fountain pens is that I can never get a wide enough line or a fill in a thick enough area with dark ink like as fast as I want to. But this was like a game changer. So I can't wait to share the results. If this is a video, this is what I painted or drew today. I don't know if anyone would be able to see this,
Oh, yeah,
but
that
just
looks awesome. I
yeah,
love that
really,
bold, that
yeah.
contrast.
This is the actual thickness of the line.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it is
That one
very.
that's one looks like a night scene even. Is one a night scene with a
This
really
one.
strong shadow? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that one, it's actually a bridge So this is a shadow on the shadow side of the bridge. But
Oh,
I filled it in
wow.
kind of a lot. But
I'm
that was
liking
like,
it.
a minute of filling in with the pen. It took no time at all. So if you can't see this, I'm sorry. But basically what I'm showing is a drawing with, there's areas that are just pure ink, and it was, a few seconds. It wasn't like I had to get a brush out or do anything special. It was just this pen, and it's the coolest pen. I think it's my new favorite.
Oh, that's awesome.
Sorry
Now
if I
I'll have
got
to
off
look that
topic
up.
there.
Oh, no, not at all. I think that's great talking about what you're excited about. Is that going to be a video on your channel soon, or
Yeah,
did you
hopefully
not
this
film?
weekend if I can edit it tonight and tomorrow. I love editing late at night. It's like another thing I'll do in bed sometimes or on the couch. I just have my little laptop and put my headphones on and get lost. It's like as relaxing as reading to me, which maybe sounds weird, but
Wow.
I really enjoy finding the nice music and putting all the clips together in like a creative way. It's like it's its own art form to me. But I don't it's just in the comfort of my comfy chair and on my laptop. I'm not moving a bunch of materials around or anything. It's just a different art form for me. So yeah,
I
hopefully I'll have
really
that
see
out
that in
sooner.
your work. I
That's
sorry, you
good.
guys, if I'm talking over her words, it's the lag a bit, but I see that when I look at your videos, they're more like films. They're so cinematic, and you have the drone footage, and it's like, and I'm watching it like she set a tripod up and she walked in front of it. I'm like look at her go. She is like
Yeah,
so cinematic. Like you're really thinking
yeah.
about how are you going to make this look like somebody's with you. And that's what it feels like
Mhm.
when I watch your videos. It feels like I'm standing right next to you while we're
Yeah,
painting on location. And I mean the
yeah,
time and effort put into that to bring somebody in and make them feel like they're a part of this experience is it's
yeah.
way above my pay grade. I'm
Oh,
just like overhead shot.
no, that is also really nice. I like doing that. Studio, one camera, face down on the desk. Oh, so nice. But yeah, I think it just comes from my background as a photographer and slowly got into cinematography. I used to do wedding photography and all sorts of other things, but photography
Wow.
was my only like creative outlet for a really long time. And when I realized I could kind of marry that with my painting and drawing obsession, I would call it. I thought that would be a really fun, like I said, it's its own art form to make videos like that. And I'm obsessed with I would say cameras and drone photography and drone cinematography is new to me, but I love finding ways to creatively use that in the videos and give kind of like a holistic experience. Someone coming to the coast with me and seeing what it's
Mm.
like, and I actually learn a lot from seeing my drone footage and seeing that different perspective. I, yeah, it just kind of teaches me something different about the landscape and about how light works in the landscape. And yeah, it's so fun and it is exhausting, but it is so
It
worth it.
looks it. Oh, well, it's so
Yeah.
beautiful to watch. It's like, wow. That's one of those things where I think a new YouTuber could almost be intimidated by seeing like, wow, this
Oh,
is
I
a
hope
film I'm
not.
watching on. Oh,
Oh,
not in a bad way, but more in like it's like, wow, I could get to that level. Maybe I could do something like that too. It's
oh,
not
I've
what you would
had a
expect to
lot of
see.
bad videos before now. Trust, like I've been doing videos since not it I don't know, 2017 more seriously, 2018, 19, but like a lot since then. And there's so many cringy bad videos out there, older
We all
videos.
have them.
But you
I always
learn,
say your first 200 are awful. My
I
first
know,
200 are awful.
yeah, you learn so much every single time you do it. Not just about video editing or making the video, like it's about camera setup and what cameras you actually like to use and what you can use to get this angle. And it's a guessing game most of the time, but each time you're like, you get one little tip that you're going to use next time and make it better. And it just kind of snowballs. So just like with
Yeah.
art, I mean, more skills you learn, more technical skills you learn, you can kind of like push it farther the next time. And yeah,
Yeah, definitely. Do you have any tips for people that want to go out and plein air paint in the winter, especially, but any time
hmm.
of year?
Well, besides what I said earlier about like kind of painting small and moving a little bit more
Mhm.
and not using as much water. I think picking a good location is key. Like here, we all have a lot of Arctic wind, and it's just if you're in the wind, you're freezing no matter what. So if you can find shelter somewhere, pick a view with something interesting that you're still kind of like protected by trees or a building or something, that helps. Or I actually do car painting a lot or car drawing, whatever. I sit in the car, either I drive or
Mhm.
we're on the way to something and I'm like, oh, pull over, I have to paint this. And we take 15 minutes and just do that. Man, my husband's so like patient and kind for letting me do that, but he also knows it's like part of my business. So he's like, okay, he'll just listen to music while I do that. But I guess no matter what time of year, I always kind of approach it from the same mindset of I want to be in the place and experience it. I don't just go out to make a thing. Like I want to be there and feel the sun or get lulled into a peaceful mindset by the waves. There's so many things to experience, and drawing is sort of secondary. A lot of times I go out with my stuff, but I don't always end up making anything because it's just like I want to sit in
Mhm.
this beautiful place and observe it and just be there. So don't put so much pressure on yourself. I think I've done that before, and I never create anything I like when I do that. If you have the option to go back to the place, it really helps because you can go once or twice and just experience it and then go back and paint it or draw it. That is tricky
That's
though
a
when you're
great idea.
traveling, obviously. Like when I first moved to Scotland, I was almost approaching it like I was going somewhere and not knowing if I'll ever go back again. So I was like, I have to paint it no matter what. And it was like a pressure. And I still
Mhm.
tried to enjoy it and make the most of that time and make something good as well. But it was over time I realized, oh, okay, I live here now. I can go back to these places more than once. And it's interesting to see how my sketches and paintings have evolved since the first time I've been to that location. I see different subjects, but I also have different skills now, so I can paint it differently. Sorry, getting off topic there.
Oh, that's all
But
right.
yeah,
No, I
no,
love just
just
hearing the process.
oh yeah, just I honestly going out with a mindset of I want to be in the place and experience it rather than paint something perfect or do it, create something that I'm going to sell or send to a gallery. It just
I
gives
think
you
that's
that
so important
freedom.
because yes, yes. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
No, go
interrupt.
ahead.
I think that's really important because a lot of times the plein air pieces that I do, I feel like they have so much energy and immediacy, and there's a lot of truth to them. Like there's accuracy, but there's not like the rendering or the finished detail or the stuff you do that makes the work pretty, the highlights,
Hmm.
fleshing stuff out. But it almost has like a little bit more of a power to it because you were there, you were experiencing it. I probably project that on my work that I do out and about, but there's nothing like getting out there in
Hmm.
the sounds and the wind. And actually last weekend, we've had these really crazy storms in Maine. We've had a lot of like flooding and rain this winter. And so I'm like, I bet there's all kinds of sea glass and weird stuff up on the beach.
Mm.
So my husband and I were out the coast last weekend. I'm like, let's go to the beach. It was so cold. I was so unprepared. I'm like, how does Sarah do this? It's so
Oh
cold.
my
I'm
gosh,
so
really
spleeny.
warm clothes, really warm layers for sure, and like fast. Get a sketch in, get a painting in, and move.
Oh, well,
But yeah.
that's great advice. I definitely was not prepared. And there was all these cars and I'm like, where are these people? It is so cold. They must have been on the
Oh,
trails, maybe bundled up, but I was like,
another thing you
I'm
can
not cut up
do,
for this.
you could get a little mini hot water bottle, and like, if your torso tends to freeze or, whatever area you need it, you can just like cozy with that, or even sit
Oh,
on it
great
if it helps.
idea.
Like, I have
Yeah.
these foldable, they're like foam, but they're called thermal camping seats or camping pads, and you just fold
Uh-huh.
them up and they're waterproof and sort of thermal. So
Mhm.
no matter where I'm sitting, I'll have that with me, and it kind of helps a little bit. So I'm not soaking the coldness up from the earth.
Yeah.
And I've never painted outside, or maybe only once in like below freezing. And a lot of people say you can use like vodka or something to add that into your water so that your paint doesn't freeze while you paint. But
Mhm.
I'm not that extreme. I just wouldn't enjoy it. I think I would just be like
Yeah.
shivering too much. I already have a shaky hand, so that wouldn't help.
I tried some winter plein air painting. It was at the beginning of the pandemic, and I remember this clearly because I just got my taxes done. So it was like March or so, and I'm like, I'm gonna go to the Audubon. We go on the trails. I had, the Himi gouache that's like that brick. It's kind of like the old
Big,
Himi
yeah,
set of 24, and
yeah.
had that in my backpack. I'm like, this is so heavy, and I'm
Oh my
cold, and I'm like,
gosh.
and I did a sketch, and it was awful. It was just like you couldn't even tell. It's when you're in the woods and there's like not enough contrast between anything to really make out what you're doing, so everything
Yeah,
just looks
yeah.
like
Oh yeah, I've
chaos.
been there.
Oh, it was just chaos, and I was trying to get dark shadows with purple, and it was just like and I was just uncomfortable and
It's a
cold, and I'm like,
it's a
this
humbling
is not for
experience
me.
for sure.
Yes, humbling. That is
So
exactly it.
yeah, I like to say that. I'm always humbled when I go out and
Hmm.
paint. I mean,
For sure.
occasionally I do something I enjoy, but most of the time it's like, oh, okay, that was a good learning experience. We'll just close that sketchbook and set it over there and not look at it for a while. Like, yeah, that's why I think if you enjoy focus on being there and enjoying the experience, no matter what happens in your sketchbook, you'll still come out of it with an enjoyable memory. You, at least there's a better chance of it.
Oh, absolutely. Something I really love that I see you do often is work on toned paper and then also do little like vignettes on the toned
Mm,
paper. And there's something about that combination of seeing all of those little like snapshots together on a
mm.
page. It's so satisfying. And it's
Yeah,
almost like
I love doing
the the
that.
sum the sum of all of them are better than any
Yeah,
individual one. Yeah, it's
yeah.
uh
And you can use any one of those little to like go back to the studio and paint it larger, because usually you also take photos while you're there. So you have like your little sketch, your memory of being there painting that little spot, and your photos. So yeah, I find that much more useful actually than just sitting down and painting like an A4 size scene. Actually, I don't think maybe I've done that a few times, but it's really rare if I paint larger than like A5 outside. But I really prefer to paint smaller little snippets of what I see. When I took Ian Stewart's workshop, he called them postcards, which I thought was perfect. It's like painting a little
yeah.
scene, a little postcard, even if it's in a bigger sketchbook. Yeah, and then you can just use that back at home if you want to, or just have the memory. I love
Yeah,
looking
and it's so
through sketchbooks
satisfying to
just as much as
see.
a photo album.
Yes. Yeah, that's what it reminds me of, kind of like an art journal or a photo album.
Yeah,
I'm obsessed with following like the only people I follow on Instagram are other artists,
yeah,
and a lot of them don't even speak English or from other countries, and I love seeing their sketchbook
Mm.
journals that have like words and it has pictures and it's got things pasted in, and it's just like
yeah.
you just saw
That is,
like a collage of their day or
yeah,
their week, and I it's just so
yeah.
fascinating. So pretty.
I've tried to get better at doing that, like adding pretty titles and words, and it's always an afterthought. I think you kind of have to go into it with the idea of how you're going to lay out this spread. That really helps. But I follow some
Hmm.
people that do that really well, and I'm just like, wow, can you imagine just sitting there looking through their sketchbook of their travels, and it would be like better than a photo album.
Oh, absolutely. Because you're seeing it through an artist's eyes. And I think that's what
Yeah.
we do. Because if you
Yes.
paid
Yeah.
attention to architectural details on a building, and I love
Hmm.
it, seeing intentions for
Same.
the year. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just
that's
so
why I went
cool to
out today to
see.
do that. It's like, yeah, I want to go somewhere really cool, some big city, and not be intimidated. Because when you go to a
Hmm.
big city and there's a lot of things to choose from, you're just like, whoa, where do I even start?
Yeah, it must be so neat to be in Europe, like, because of so much the everything is so much older. All of like the buildings are
Yeah,
older, and everything is kind of crammed up together, and it's just
it's a
gonna
very
be.
different aesthetic for sure. And
Yeah.
it's funny because if you live here long enough, we were talking about this in the car earlier. Like, if you live here anywhere long enough, things become normal. So when I first moved to Scotland, my husband actually asked me, do you wish you could rewind and like see Scotland for the first time again? And I do, because of that feeling of like awe. And even a field full of sheep was like the most beautiful, spectacular thing. And now it's so normal that I can drive by it almost without noticing, although I do because they're so cute. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's so hard to go back to that fresh perspective of now when I see all these old buildings, I'm like, it's so normal. If I saw a wooden house, I would be like, whoa, what is that? Like that's so normal in America.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. It's interesting being here. I think each country in Europe has kind of their own aesthetic, their own vibe, and probably depends on what type of building materials they need to use for their climate. But here it's definitely stone, lots of stone.
Hmm.
And you do see like log cabin or timber houses occasionally, but that, it's like new, like it's kind of a popular new thing here in the Highlands. But mostly it's all stone and it's so beautiful. And yeah, it just has that old world feel to it.
I wonder if it's because there were a lot of like just natural stone available, or if like
Yeah,
the
probably
natural wood
way
buildings would
less
just rot
timber.
in the humidity.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think all of that, like way less timber, the humid climate, everything is just stone will probably stand the test of time much more. And there's a lot of it. And it's interesting because like Aberdeen is a big city near us that it's known as like the granite city, the gray city, because they have
Mhm.
so many granite mines and gray rock over there. They use that to build the city. But other towns have kind of a different feeling, like more reddish stone. I think Glasgow is one of them that has a lot of red stone. But
Huh.
yeah, I think it has to do with the environment where they get their building supplies. If we can mine our own stone, it's a lot cheaper than importing
Oh
something. And
yeah.
so,
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, something else I want to talk to you about, because there is a little treasure on the internet that a lot of people don't know about, and it is your blog, The Fearless Brush. I was poking around in there, and honestly, anytime I have a question about gouache and I'm doing a painting and I ask my people and I say, geez, I'm wondering about this. Has anyone tried this brand of gouache, or has anybody tried this? Or I wonder how light fast this really is. Maybe
mm,
I'm feeling like the ratings on it tube of paint might not be quite accurate, and your name comes up every single time. I think Sarah has a chart on that. I think that she's got that in her
I
database.
wish
She's
I
got
had
a video
more.
on that, and and it's like, and
No,
sure enough, it's, if I need to know about gouache, I go to your to YouTube. But what more importantly, your blog, because you have such an extensive gouache database. Could you
mm,
talk about that a little bit?
the obsession, you mean?
Sure.
I, yeah, it all started when back in the day when I was getting into gouache. No, it was just I can't not approach something from an analytical mindset for some reason. So when I try a new material, I'm like, what is it capable of? Like the manufacturer will tell you all sorts of things about it, but as you paint, you start to get to know it. And then, if light fastness matters to you, yes, you can trust some sources online, but I was sick of guessing or like reading something that contradicted something else. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna figure this out on my own, do as many light fast tests, and I tested some mold things with some of the gouaches as well, and put all the results on there. It's like totally free if anyone else is curious. And I do wish I had more gouache. It's just I can't get a hold of all the gouaches in the world here. But at some point, I do want to keep trying like more. Like Turner gouache is one I get requests for all the time. So hopefully I'll get some of that soon, and
Just bought
continue
a
to
set.
update it. Yeah.
Sorry
And no,
to
it's
interrupt
okay.
you.
But yeah, it became an obsession. And I think I did the majority of the gouache comparison tests. Like I would open a set of gouache and do a full swatching review and a full painting review and everything in one setting or 2 days maybe. And then I would go to the next one and the next one and the next one. It was like weeks at a time, just couldn't do anything else. And I compiled it all into one spot so you can see all the results to make it as easy as possible. And it's purely because I couldn't find what I wanted online all in one place. And I do find a lot of value in looking at lots of different sources because everyone's going to approach something differently. And like Jane Blundell, I look at her blog posts a lot about watercolors, especially Daniel Smith, because she's a brand ambassador. But she's going to use them differently than like this artist will. And I think each experience is going to offer its own value. So that's just the gouache database is my experience as a landscape painter, and all of my demos are like landscapes, so it's pretty specific. If you're an illustrator who does kind of more of a flat style, you might have a totally different opinion about how a gouache performs because you will use it very differently than I do, which is completely valid. So take it with a grain of salt. But I did also start including the light fast tests, as I said, and most of the results are up by now. I think 6 or 8 months up in the window. I took a bunch of them down because I couldn't see out my window anymore. And now I think the only ones up are that I'm currently testing are Shinhan and one or two other small sets I have. So within like 4 months,
I
those will be ready to see.
Oh, I can't wait
Yeah.
because I have a set of 12, the Shinhan, because I love the kind of bright rainbow colors in the set of
Mm,
12, and I wanted to test it out without spending a ton of money, and we didn't have
yeah.
a like local store selling it. And it was kind of like I love the paint so much, but I was looking at some of the pigments in there. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I trust the
Yeah.
light fastness ratings. And so I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't typically do the light fast test because I don't feel like I am knowledgeable enough to know how
Mm,
long to leave them out. But I'm like,
right.
okay, if I want to paint with this paint, I really want it to be in the rotation, but I want to know if I'm going to hang it on the wall in my main far from the equator house that it's not going to fade. So I made a big swatch and I taped black cardstock ovals to the center of each swatch and I
Mhm.
stuck them in a windowsill. And I just actually checked on them the other day. And one color that I didn't expect would fade, most of the colors were fine. But one that it was using PV15 ultramarine violet. I'm like, that shouldn't
Okay.
fade. That's the only one that
That's
faded. And I
surprising.
was like, yeah, that's really surprising.
Yeah,
So I'm wondering
no,
if
I
there
think
was an
that's why it's
error
so
on
good
the
to do your own if you have the window space and the time, it's really
yeah.
helpful. The other thing I learned is um a lot of fading happens when it's diluted or tinted with white. So
Hmm.
all my swatches, all my Lightfast tests include the tinted versions as well. Maybe some of the brands I'll never use again. I didn't go into that much effort, but I tried to do that for most of them just to get like a fair assessment of it. And
Hmm.
yeah, I'll put the Shinhan results up as soon as those are ready. But I don't think I'm gonna hang mine up in the window for longer than like 6 to 8 months, because if it hasn't faded by then, or even shown any signs of fading, it's usually fine. And I learned
Hmm.
that from the all famous handprint website,
Hmm.
that everyone refers
Ah,
to. He
yeah.
goes like really in depth about doing light fast tests, and maybe if you live like near the equator and you're crazy hot sun all the time, it's going to be different there. I live in the north of
Mhm.
Scotland, so yeah, it's going to be different here. But it's at least something to start with, so
Mhm.
you can like see if anything has changed at all and go from there. But I do recommend people do their own, just if that matters, and if you are selling originals, just to know. And most of my stuff is not for sale, so I don't have a huge concern with it. It was more out of curiosity
Mhm.
that I started doing all this. And I like making spreadsheets and I like, finding out as much as I can about what I'm using, even if I don't need to know it. So,
I
yeah,
think
that's
that's
kind of
great.
where
It
the database
definitely
came from and
benefits.
where the blog posts or the blog itself is more, it was a kind of a way to separate my personal art website from all of the learning content I do, teaching
Mhm.
content. So, yeah, it was like if you're like me, you want to be fearless when you paint and you just want to go for it, not be so scared, make mistakes, or that's kind of where all that the fearless brush idea started from. And I started sharing all of my anything that's like a tip or, how to or tutorial, anything in that vein, I post there. And then my own art website is like my portfolio and my shop. So it's definitely a totally different world. And my fearless brush blog, it's the page itself is a variety of mediums. It's not just gouache, but I do have the gouache database because I didn't like there's already tons of watercolor database out there
Mhm.
that are really really good. So, I didn't feel the need to do that, but maybe there's other gouache databases as well. If someone wants to leave a comment and let us know, that would be awesome to hear. But it's more of a newer medium, it seems, especially for artists. Maybe not for illustrators, but I just want to learn as much as I can about it, especially with the materials I use frequently. So,
Oh,
um,
absolutely. And that just helps everybody. So
yeah.
it's so appreciated. And I will put a link to your blog and the database tab specifically so
Mm.
people can find that
Okay.
in the
Yeah.
show notes and the YouTube comments.
Yeah. It's
I
free and
actually
there's
had a
no ads,
question.
so it's
It's
not
so
like
wonderful. It's
selling
so pretty
anything.
to look at. It's so pretty to look at. I mean, it's like looking at I used to love magazines, and there aren't many art magazines anymore. And looking through your blog is like flipping through my favorite art
Oh,
magazine. So I
oh, that's
highly
so nice.
recommend it.
Yeah.
When you're working in your sketchbook with your gouache, do you ever find that when the pages will rub together and you'll get shiny spots, especially on like watercolor paper?
Yeah, occasionally, especially if I keep them stacked on top of each other, because the pressure, I think, like,
Mhm.
pushes the pages together and you get that like micro rubbing that happens and it's almost
Yeah.
like burnishing, is that what it's called? Where you
Hmm.
like get,
Yeah.
you can do that with gouache. Sometimes I'll seal the page with cold wax medium. I have
Hmm.
Dorland's brand. There's probably other brands,
Yep.
but that's really nice because it also protects it from water in case you like spill water and it gets on your sketchbook. I've done that and ruined a sketchbook before. So I try to remember at the end of when I'm done with the sketchbook to just like seal things. Or I also sometimes put tracing paper between the pages, and like even just regular paper. You can just like sandwich it between, and hopefully that helps a little bit so they don't rub on each other. If they're still gonna rub, it's more a matter of how you care for your sketchbook, how you handle it. Like keep it vertical on the shelf, or
Hmm.
maybe don't toss it in your bag as roughly as you are. But
Hmm.
yeah, it happens, and I think that's just how it is in a sketchbook because it's not on its own. It's always with other pages. It's hard to isolate it in that sense. So I don't, it doesn't bother me because usually what I do is after I paint, I take a photo and I scan it. So I have
Hmm.
a digital record when it was perfect or, non messed up by the other pages. And then it's good to go for if I need prints or just to share it online. And then if it happens to get scratched or something in the future, oh well.
If you were sealing a page and it was like two gouache paintings back to back, would you seal both of them or just do one page and
I would do
it would be
both to
fine?
protect them both, but then I would put a piece of tracing paper between them or,
Oh, you still
slick
would do
vellum or
that.
something like that. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of my
Okay.
older, the sketchbooks that are focused on gouache have a lot of, they're like thick because they have a lot of pages, pieces of paper between the pages. You could, or wait, I'm thinking glassine paper maybe. So it's like
Hmm.
waterproof paper. It doesn't
Hmm.
absorb really anything. So yeah, anything like that would work, I think, to protect them from each other.
I
But
used will
storing
use
vertically
deli
really
paper a
helps for
lot.
sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, what?
Oh, good. Oh, I will use deli paper a lot for that
Oh,
because,
yeah.
like, many years ago, I thought I ordered one box of 1,000 sheets from Sam's Club, and they sent me like,
1,000
I
boxes?
think it was like, yes, 7 boxes of a
Oh
thousand
my
sheets.
God.
So I had like all of these, like, and so I had one of those old pH tester pens back from scrapbooking days, and so I'm like, well, let me see, and it was acid free. So I'm like, well, I guess this is going to be my art tracing paper slash glassine slash
Yeah.
sketchbook protector because I've got a lifetime supply of this, and I
Yeah.
don't think I'll make that many sandwiches in my life to wrap up with the deli paper.
Yeah.
So I use that
That's a good
a
point though.
lot.
Acid free. Whenever you can, always choose acid free papers and products because just the longevity, it makes a difference in
Mhm.
that. So it's something,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know where I heard it, but I heard it early on, thankfully. So I always kind of had it in the back of my mind. But maybe it isn't known to everyone, so it is good to mention once in a while.
Right. And yeah, most art products are labeled as acid
Yeah.
free, and most of your art media will be acid free. Where you kind of, I think, can find trouble is if you're collaging in like ticket stubs or
Hmm.
shopping bags or things like that. But as long as you're comfortable with the risk, you could also coat those products with matte medium so you have a acid buffer before you stick them in your sketchbook if you're really concerned with
Good
that.
idea.
Um, yeah, yeah. Tape adhesives tend to be also problematic, like the
Yeah, I've experienced
cello
that.
tape, especially. Yeah, yeah. I think we all have. Um, all right. Well, my goodness, this has been such a fun
I know, I
chat.
feel like we could
What?
talk for so long. Like there's so
Oh,
many
I
things.
know.
We could have a
I know.
whole
What
different podcast
supplies?
about all these topics.
Oh my gosh, I know. I could talk about our supplies for forever, or
Yeah.
plein air painting, or so many
Yeah.
topics. What supplies are you really excited about right now? You mentioned the parallel pen. Is there
The
anything
pen.
else?
Well, ink in general, I've been like at all. whenever I do my sketching at night or off camera, whatever you want to say, I am leaning much more towards ink lately. And now that I found the parallel pen, that's my newest obsession. But dried gouache, like in a portable painter or any kind of small palette like that, is my new, that's the only way I want to use gouache outside, which is
Oh, wow.
not problematic or anything, but it's like I've made so many videos about using gouache with wet palettes and like all these different materials, palettes, using it in different ways. And now this is like the only way I want to use it. And I never thought I would say that. So I have made one or two videos about using it that way. And I hope that people can see that, you know, it's my new favorite thing, new favorite way to use it. But I get almost daily questions about like, oh, what was this palette that you recommend? And it's like from 4 years ago. And I'm like, oh
Yeah.
no, I don't recommend that one at all anymore. So that's always
Things have
tricky. And I
changed.
know, I'm sure you know exactly how I feel
Yeah.
when you talk about art supplies all the time.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
dried
It's
gouache is just my new thing. And if I'm painting with gouache outside, it's definitely with dried gouache, and specifically in my portable painter, just because it's
Mhm.
so easy.
Are you using water brushes with the dried gouache, or are you using the water buckets
No,
from the
I
classic
take
portable painter?
I take out my little tiny. It has a lid. It's like a water dish with a lid, and I also pour water into the side part of the portable painter, which is like the the cover, you know, when you take it apart and set
Yep.
it up.
Yep. The little
And then
legs.
I
Yeah.
take yeah, and then I take my own brushes out because I way prefer regular brushes when I'm using
Mm.
gouache. I don't think I would enjoy it at all with a water brush. You have to control water so much with gouache to get the
Mhm.
results you want that I think a water brush, like I would seriously struggle with that. Yeah, and it's easy enough. I just have a zipper pouch thing for my brushes that keeps them flat and straight and like protects them in my bag, so I'm not
Mhm.
worried about them breaking or anything. So it's yeah, that part's easy. Or I use my Etcher Slate Mini, which is like the self-contained art bag, and it like unfolds to be its own desktop type thing. That's if I
Mhm.
have a little extra energy, you know, it all really relates to what energy level I am that day, how much
Yeah,
effort I want to make.
absolutely. I love the
Like,
dry gouache idea. I tried to take out well, a couple times I've gone out with wet gouache, and it always seems like I make such a mess. I had
mm,
the tiny little palette that a lot of people had that had
yep,
the like pop out cup that
yep.
fit in the
Oh,
bottom
I
of it and a
love
little
that one
strap to
actually.
carry it.
Yeah, if
I don't know if I filled it too much or it was just such a mess. And then I was using water brushes, but I also had the bucket, but the water brushes were getting so clogged,
oh no,
and
yeah.
it was just, and I didn't have enough space to mix on the lid from that little palette. And then I
Yeah,
had seen
that's
a
the
video
struggle.
of the John Muir, yeah, and then I was like, well, I wish it was more like watercolor because it's so much more contained. And I had seen, I think this was before I saw your video on dried gouache, but John Muir Laws had posted, he took like a Cotman sketcher box and he
Mm,
filled it with gouache, but as it was drying, he pressed his finger into the gouache to
mm.
compress it so it wouldn't crack. And
Yep,
I thought that's a
that's a
great
good
idea.
one.
And I did the same thing. And that little tip helped, probably because
Yeah,
I was using some pretty cheap gouache. So it really wanted to
no,
crack. So by just doing that,
that does make a
yeah,
difference. And I think even watercolor it helps with that. So it doesn't shrink as much in
mhm.
a pan or something like that. I've seen that. But the mixing tray space is tricky with those little palettes for sure. I think that's actually what taught me how to, or maybe led me to the way I paint now, which is to always mix on the same spot. Even when I'm in the studio and I have a huge mixing tray, I always mix in the same area. I guess because I have had to do that outside for so many years. But I
Mhm.
do have this 6 by 8 inch size mixing tray. It's by Gorilla Painter, and this is like I use this
Mhm.
in and outside and in my studio. But it has a lid, so you can put your
Mm.
gouache in it, and when you're
Oh,
done,
nice.
cover it, and it lasts for days, so you can still use it. It's not gonna dry out instantly, and you know, there's all sorts of different wet palettes you can use in the studio, different sizes that are really convenient. Or you can, you know, paint on a tray or even a plate and then cover it with cling film for a couple days,
Yeah.
and usually it's okay. So there's different tricks to that. But outside, I got sick of you know, that little palette you were talking about, the square with the pop-up lid and everything. I
Yep.
dropped one of those full of fresh gouache in two separate
No.
occasions. I dropped it in sand and there's no recovering. So
Yeah.
after the second time, I was so upset and just done. So I'm a little
Hmm.
traumatized with those at the moment, which is a huge reason I was like, let's just go for this dried gouache thing. And it is working out
Hmm.
amazing. Like it just suits my style of painting. Like it suits my setup, everything. It's working really well. So yeah, I'm just gonna go with that for now, and hopefully eventually it catches on that I'm not using those 4-year-old palettes I was back then, and
Yeah. Do you bring
it
a
is
tube of
tricky
white with
though.
you?
I use a tube of white, and I also do squeeze a little bit in the palette, but it's always contaminated with other colors. So, when white, if it needs to be like fresh or bright white, I always have a little tube just in case. And that
Hmm.
is such I go through that tube a lot. White is probably one of the most used colors. So I would at least have one pan full of white just in case I forgot the white tube, and refill it frequently. But yeah, it's always in the. I think I have one in every single bag I own. I have a brush, a water brush just in case, a white tube of gouache, and probably one or two other things I'm not thinking of. But I have a bunch of different backpacks I'll go out with for different things, and try to be ready at all times.
Hmm. One of the things I
Yeah,
love
that's another
about
tip though
the
with plein air is if you can have a
yeah.
go bag like ready to go
Hmm.
at all times. So maybe you buy duplicates of your
Yeah.
favorite art supplies, have one set in your bag or your car so that there's no excuse or no like talking yourself out of it. That was that was a game changer for me for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And I had got this. Have you ever used those Viviva color sheets? The
I
like
know,
the
but I've
Peerless
seen them.
watercolor.
Yeah. I know what they are. Yeah.
I have those are so handy this for because you can keep it in like they have these little binders that are about the size of like a
Mm,
day planner and a little pocket that has your
mhm,
colors in there and a sketchbook and and it comes with like a water brush and a pen
mhm.
and they're not my favorite watercolors, but the fact that I can have that and sit on the couch or I have one in the back of my car and I have a small, very small car, especially in the summer because I want to be top down convertible all summer long. So I have that tucked, under the seat and I
Yeah.
can pull over and I can use that. And yeah, it's not my favorite palette, not my favorite watercolors, not my favorite sketchbook, not my favorite
But
brush, not my favorite pen, but it's
yeah.
convenient and it's there and it gets the job done
Yeah,
because
exactly.
it makes it
And
not precious.
exactly. And then because if you don't bring something, it's when you see something you're like, oh, I really desperately want to paint that, and I don't have anything to do it with. I've been there too many
Mhm.
times, so now I just always have something ready, usually in the car or at least by the door. That
Yeah.
really
And
helps.
it's that delicate balance. If you bring too much stuff, then you'll be overwhelmed and won't get
Oh,
anything
I
done.
know.
But if you don't have anything, you can't do anything unless maybe you can scrounge
Yeah,
up an old receipt
yeah.
and a ballpoint pen or something in your car that you can sketch on really
I
quickly.
know. And that kind of goes back to what I started saying at the beginning was how I wish I had just could focus on if I wish I loved just ink and watercolor in a sketchbook. I had my two or three favorite items that I only ever wanted to use forever. How simple life would be. But instead I have like 20 different kits and 20 different setups and favorite versions of different materials, and it's a mess always.
Oh, I hear you. This year, because I get very tempted by the, ooh, what's that? New shiny thing, new shiny thing, new
Yeah.
shiny thing. And part of it is because I review a lot of products on YouTube.
Yeah.
So it's fun to try these different things, but this year I definitely want to revisit a lot of my favorites. I was just using Pan Pastel and Derwent Light Fast pencils yesterday, and it's like, oh, I'm home, it just feels so
Yeah.
good
Oh,
to get
it's
back to
so
those
nice when you,
favorites.
yeah, rediscovering those
Mm.
things. Because if you do set those aside to do other new things, to try them out, that's fine too. But when you go back to it, it's like such a sense of being in the right place at the right time. Like it was meant to be. It suits you so
Mhm.
well. And yeah,
Yeah.
I get that for sure. I think that goes for me, it's watercolor.
Yeah, I think and constant switching gears also can you kind of have to run to kind of catch up and get back in the groove with every time you
Mm,
switch. So yeah, I
yeah.
think I think probably one of the best advices for beginners is to like start with a limited palette, get to know what you
Yes.
have, see how versatile it is, and then add something to it that will make it more versatile. But I think
Yeah.
the trend is to get the biggest set right away, and then I
It's
think you can get
tempting.
overwhelmed, and it can actually slow you down from
Oh, for
learning because
sure. Yeah.
instead of like having six colors to mix from, you've got 48 colors and
Yeah.
And, then it could be either you're just picking the color you need and wondering why does it feel so discordant?
Yes,
Why do
exactly. The
things seem to
color harmony.
clash?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally
But
get
it's
that.
fun to have that 48 set, I can just look at my if I look in my Amazon affiliate links information, because I use Amazon affiliate links if I'm recommending something, if they sell
Yeah.
it, or Blick or whatever. But I can see what people on Amazon, I can see what people are buying, and it's always those bigger sets. People want to,
Yeah.
they want all the versatility and all of the options. And I get that. If I get the chance, if I'm going to review something, I'll buy the bigger set if
Hmm.
unless it's crazy expensive, because I want to see how the whole range is. But it
Yeah.
can almost handicap you a bit because you're not really getting to know those baseline colors, and you're getting
Hmm.
distracted by all the new and shiny.
Yep.
And I'm
Oh my
so
gosh.
guilty of it.
I get it. That was a game changer for me when I started using a limited color palette. Um, and this is a little thing I'll just mention. The Plein Air podcast, the Plein Air magazine, all of that whole franchise, whatever.
Hmm.
The Plein Air podcast is one of the most amazing resources for landscape artists, especially. And they basically interview like master artists all over the world, and they all talk about what their favorite materials are and what their advice is to beginners and seasoned artists. And like after you hear 100 of them, you get the underlying message that, start with limited palette for sure, and keep things simple at first, because like you're saying, it's so tense. You can do so much, and a lot of masters over time have proved you can do even more with a limited set. Like that color harmony is inherent when you start with the same like 5 colors and use that for the whole thing.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was a game changer for me, and definitely I don't get tempted anymore, because I know I'll just buy a set of 50, but I'll use the same 5 colors every time, and the others will sit on the
Yeah.
shelf. So
Oh yeah. I wish I could learn my lesson a little more often.
yeah,
But yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah,
And
you
so the
have to
Plein
go
Air
through it, and
podcast
then
is, oh, I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
no, it's just, yeah, the message does
Yeah.
sink in over time. Like you have to go through it in your own way and discover it in your own way. But if since you're reaching a lot of people, it is good to mention, like, start with less and then grow after
Mhm.
you know what you like to do, and after you've painted for a while with something, you know what you're missing, or you get a sense of something that, oh, okay, that actually would make my life better or life easier, and then you can seek it out, maybe wait for sales. You seem to be
Right.
really
And
good at that.
absolutely,
Yeah.
there's I don't know what you call it. It's called it's not a real syndrome, but it's called full set syndrome, that you
Oh,
want to buy every single color in the set. That's something that I see a lot. People saying, my full set syndrome is a complete, and or I suffer from full set syndrome. And I think because all of these colors are made, manufacturers will make 100 colors or more. People think that, well, I should probably buy 100 colors, but they don't necessarily realize there's that variety, because every artist has a different base color
hmm,
they want. They're nobody's using 100 colors in a painting, or even
yeah,
has that many colors on their palette. They want to have that variety so people can get exactly what they want. Some people will
yeah,
like a brown that's a little more red, or one that's a little bit more green, or one that's a little bit more black. And some people just want single pigment colors. Some people don't care if a
yeah,
color is light fast or not. They want the vibrant colors because they're going to reproduce it. And everyone has their own different criteria. But
yeah,
I think it can be very enticing to see all the colors and think, well, I'm going to collect them all, like baseball
yeah.
cards. And the manufacturers have no problem people collecting them all.
Oh, for sure.
They're
They love
fully
it.
in support of that. But
Yeah.
it's important to just, I feel like, have some sort of a sanity baseline saying, no, you don't have to do that. Your work's not going to be better by buying all those colors. It may even be
Hmm.
worse. It might take you longer to learn because of that. And
Yeah.
I did want to mention that the Plein Air podcast is on YouTube. I think
Yeah.
is it
It
Eric
is.
Rhodes is the host
Eric
of that?
Rhodes. Hmm.
Eric Rhodes, yeah, and it's on
Yeah.
podcast apps. So if you're into
Yeah.
plein air and want to check that out, is a great resource.
Oh, I love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Especially if you if you like, well, they don't just do landscapes. Most of them are landscape painters, but a lot of them also do portraits and things like that. So,
Mm. Can you tell me what exciting projects you have coming up, or any
oh my
exciting products that
goodness.
you want to tell everyone about?
Uh, well,
You have all
I
kinds.
Well, so many things. Mostly, I am trying to keep up with my weekly YouTube videos. That's a little bit of a struggle this time of year, but that's always going. And then I don't really make many like products or any have launches or anything. I don't sell a lot of originals, but I do sell a set of brushes that I collaborated with Craftomo. That's always available on the Craftomo site. There's a limited edition of Gouache subscription box going out, but that orders for that are closed, which, so I won't talk about it too
Oh,
much, but
shoot.
that's going to be exciting. We might open orders up again in the spring, but they'll get gouache every month in the mail with a tutorial. So I've been really
Oh,
busy
how
making
fun.
all the tutorials. I have to do like the whole year for that. So, but yeah, the brushes, I mean, that's what you see me using in all my videos. That's like the main product I would say I do, besides little prints and things on my own shop. But project wise, I kind of go with the flow. Like I don't like to plan too far in advance with my videos. I didn't know what I was doing for this weekend's video till today, till I went to the coast to make that video. So that's pretty common. Occasionally I plan like a week ahead, but since I don't like have a specific thing I do on my channel, like one thing, it's kind of more free flow. And a lot of my videos anyway are about just the experience. So I want to, take people out. I can't go out if it's just pouring rain or or having storm after storm after storm. So yeah, that's kind of why I never made promises on my channel. I just said there will hopefully be a video this week. And then that's what I kind of build everything around. And I have my Patreon in the background that's always going. So I do 2 tutorials for that each month, which again is more if you're interested in learning how to paint rather than just
Mhm.
watching it happen and being there in the moment with me. Yeah, that all of that together keeps me pretty busy. So
Oh, that's wonderful.
I would love to do another
So,
workshop this year, but we'll see. It's still early to
yeah.
tell.
Well, where would people find out about that if they did want to keep in touch? Do you have a newsletter
I do.
or
I have a
anything like that people
newsletter.
can sign up for?
I try to do a monthly newsletter. So my website, there's a sign up form for that. And yeah, it's also just kind of behind the scenes stuff and maybe updates on upcoming projects, or if there are events, I always mention that. But I would myself like to take a workshop this year as well, like go somewhere nice. And
Mm.
I did a Ian Stewart workshop last year and it was the coolest experience. And I know you teach workshops. I would maybe love to do that someday if I could afford it. But
Come down to
yeah,
France in May.
I know it sounds amazing. Um,
It'll be
yeah,
warm.
yeah,
Hopefully. Oh, I hope so.
I know.
Well, you have a
I
lot
would love
going
to go
on. Do you
somewhere
have
warm
any?
right now.
Oh, seriously. Yeah, it is. It is cold here too. Do you have any tips for anybody looking to get into art or art as a business or anything like that?
Um, I mean, I would say if you're comfortable, try YouTube. Maybe I'm biased, but
Mhm.
honestly, if it is something you're trying to make into a business someday, or even like a side hustle, whatever you want to call it, getting putting your authentic self out there is much easier to do in a video format, I find, even if you're not on camera, like even if it's just top down, maybe your voice, or maybe you're just putting text on screen to explain what's happening, or yeah, like that kind of long form content in a world that's so full of just insanely fast, like scroll videos popping out at you and screaming at you. Like I find there's a much deeper connection on my YouTube channel than anywhere else, and I think it has to do with that long form, slower,
Mhm.
relaxed drip content. Like it's just easier to get to know someone that way. And I guess because I'm on camera, it also helps me express myself easier than if it's just posting a photo or something like that. So, maybe dip your toes in that if you're interested in getting into that. Did you ask about people who are just getting into art or business? I kind of took that in the business
Yeah, that's what I was
realm.
kind of thinking of. Well, I mean, I intended to ask you that earlier, but then I was like, oh, I've totally forgot to ask that. This
Oh,
might get my
sorry.
first interview here. So I'm
Oh no,
being interviewed, not
it's
not. Not being the person asking the
I heard
questions.
what I
I'm
wanted
I'm
to
kind of a
hear, I
train
guess.
wreck. No, I think that's great. No, because I know a lot of people that watch the channel are thinking about they might like to maybe do an art fair or sell
Oh
some of their
yeah.
products or start
Yeah.
a social media page too. I've talked to many friends that are like, oh, I wish I just had the nerve to start a blog or
Mhm.
to start an Instagram account, but I'm afraid that I'm going to do it wrong. And I'm like,
Mm,
just do it. You're everyone's a hot mess when they start out, and then
yeah.
eventually you find your look and your style and what you want to
Yeah.
say. But nobody's coming out of the gate looking great. Everyone's coming
Yeah.
out of the gate
One
kind of
thing that one thing that
fledgling.
can help with that, I think, is to take pressure off the act of posting it. Like one strategy I've heard a lot is people make 5 or 10 pieces of art or posts before they ever share anything. So when they post that
Mhm.
first one, then they know, okay, I can post another one in 3 days or once a week or whatever. So it's not like, okay, I did it. Oh gosh, okay, now what? Like I have to do another one. And it kind of gives you that buffer to just slowly try it out. Or, just remember that not any one post or video or anything is going to like make or break you. Like going viral is not the strategy you want. That is not the way to have a sustainable following. It's going to bring followers of the wrong kind, if you know what I mean. Like you want
Mhm.
people to find out who you are and enjoy watching your regular content, not just that one viral video, and keep
Mhm.
coming back because that's, not to get too technical, but the algorithm will reward you more if your actual followers are returning, not just suddenly a huge influx of followers. So
Mhm.
never try to go viral. That's like my strategy. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, of course you want, if it is your business, you want views and you want things to do well, but viral side of it is like not where you want to be. It's not going to lead to the sustainable business in the long run. So hopefully that takes some of the pressure off as well, and also know that every single person who comments on your, well, for the most part, they're real people and they're
Mhm.
actually interested, and you can have a dialogue with them either in the comments or in DMs or something. Or you'll see like repeat comments, and that's like, your tribe. That's the people who will keep coming
Yeah.
back, and it's fun to chat with them in the comments. So definitely I'd say embrace that side of it. But yeah, I used to think like, oh, if I post this and it doesn't do well, or oh, if this one thing is going to make or break it's going to represent me forever. The whole picture comes together if you keep posting. People get to
Mhm.
see, how you evolve as an artist. And I think that helps them connect more with you because, yeah, we're not just all sitting around making perfect art and posting. Like, if you share the in
Yeah.
between moments, that's also more relatable, I guess. Sharing
Yeah, and it takes
sketches,
some of the
even. Like,
pressure
I
off.
love sketches.
Yeah.
I think I like sketches more than finished artwork a lot of the time. So I try to share that as well. And it seems to be, the following responds well to those things. So it doesn't always have to be the perfect finished piece that you're hanging up on the wall. Life
Yeah,
moments
and
as well.
we're putting way more importance on that post than anybody else that's scrolling by. And somebody might just
Yeah,
kind of fly by it, and we're
yeah,
thinking, our reputations is riding on this
yeah.
post. But
I know.
yeah, take a step back. It's people can come back and find it. Don't put that much pressure on yourself. It's
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
not true. It's not true. It's hard to kind of step back and be objective about your
Yeah.
stuff. And you
And
might post something and then realize, oh, I made a huge mistake on that, and it's already out there and nobody else is going to notice.
yeah, it's so I don't know if this happens to you, but I am terrible at predicting the things that will be successful or like the most enjoyed. I
Yep.
I guess the opposite one. Like I put something out, I was like, this is the thing that's gonna be the best. People are gonna love it. And then it's like, it gets an okay response. And then I post like, oh, I'm tired today. I'll just post this random drawing. It gets like, 500 more likes than usual. Just like, I don't get it. I don't get it. So what you
Yeah.
think is going to be the best is not always the case.
Mm,
It just, I don't know. Don't know how to explain that
yeah.
phenomenon.
I think just do whatever you're excited about, and
Yeah,
some of it
that's,
will stick, some of it won't. But as
Mhm.
long as you're happy with it and you're keeping yourself excited, then hopefully you'll avoid the burnout. You see so many creators quitting, either mostly on YouTube. You hear a lot of people hear
Yeah.
about a lot of people quitting. And I think it's that trying to please other people constantly, and then if you're not getting the results that you were getting in the past, and you're putting out that same amount of effort, it gets very disparaging. But if you can just
Yeah.
kind of try to, and I'm horrible at this, but if you can try to forget about the numbers and the algorithm and the views,
Mm.
and just create stuff that you're excited about, then
Yeah.
I mean, there's always more and more people posting. There's always more and more videos, more and more content
Yeah.
every minute, and trends come and go and change. But chasing that trend, chasing that algorithm, trying to be
You'll just be
something that you don't even
miserable.
want to be, yeah,
Yeah.
you're just going to be miserable. And, I
Yeah.
need to remind
And
myself of that
it's the
often.
concept of 1,000 true fans. Like you can make a living with 1,000 true fans. That's the idea. I forgot where it comes from,
Mhm.
but that's always been true for me. I've grown very slowly over the years, or at least it feels that way. And the base that keeps me alive is just very invested, I guess. And I
Mhm.
connect with them on a deeper level. I mean, I make the effort to do that, but like, it doesn't have to be a 500,000 million huge amount of following on all the different platforms. Maybe one could get you more views,
Mhm.
cool. But like, yeah, it's also the how you interact with them, and it's really hard to interact with people if there's a lot of comments, and I get that for
Mhm.
sure. But yeah, just do your best. You're human. You can only do so
Right.
much.
And if you get like 100 people liking a video, I mean, think of that. Think of a room with 100 people in it, and they're
That's a lot of
cheering for
people.
you. I mean,
Yeah,
it doesn't seem
it's
like a lot when you're seeing the number on a screen, but that's a lot of people that are like
that's
rooting
so
for you.
true.
And,
That's so
I
yeah.
know, yeah, and
And
I don't know if you ever get negative comments because you're so nice. I can't imagine anyone leaving a
yeah, for
negative
sure.
comment, but oh yeah.
It always
Do
makes
you,
me
when
laugh
you get
because I'm
that
like,
negative
you're
comment, does
watching.
that like, does it like
I'm like,
overshadow every positive comment?
Yes, and I've gotten way better over the years, but like, you'll get 100 awesome comments and then one negative comment, and that's the one you think about. And so
Yeah.
I try to remember how illogical that is. And so my husband's
Hmm.
amazing at it. He's like, "Do you want me to respond?" Because he'll like totally egg him on, and I'm like, "No, I don't want that to be in my comments." But he's good. He's like always reminding me, like, "You just had 100 really good comments. Read those again and
Hmm.
again." And that's, yeah, okay, yeah, I get it. But it's
Yeah.
so
My
funny. I'm
husband's just
like,
like, step away.
you're watching a
Yeah.
free art video online. Like, what? Just leave if you don't
I
like it.
know. I know.
It's
Yeah, I
so
know.
funny.
It's rough.
But
It's rough.
that's a
I'll
whole
give you
nother
a
topic.
refund. How about that? I just want to say that when somebody's complaining, I'm like, you want your money back? I mean, it was free.
That's,
It's on YouTube.
yeah. Oh gosh. I don't get that mentality, but it's no matter
Yeah.
where you go online, it's probably gonna happen. So just
Yeah.
if you can ignore it, just ignore it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Sometimes they're just so wackadoodle that it's like it's not even like insulting because it's like, wow, I never would have thought of that insult. That is
yeah,
new.
yeah.
Well done on being original, troll.
Yeah. I don't know. And when I see that a lot of artists I admire and I follow, they sometimes have negative comments, and I'm just like, how can you possibly post a negative comment on this person? Their art is amazing, they're amazing. What? And so you see that happen, you're like, oh, it isn't personal because it's happening to even the best people. And it's like, there's just no off button for that side of the world,
Mhm.
those types of people.
I
But
always want to click on their channel. I click on their whenever I see that. I click on their icon to see what they're posting.
investigate
They're never posting anything because anybody that's ever done this, it's put like
the
content out in the world, put
anonymous,
videos
yeah.
out. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know how hard it is. You're not going to put it out there. You're not going to like, you know,
Yeah.
uh, post something like that because you know how hard it is. Anybody that's walked your path knows how hard it is. So they're not going to judge you. The people that are judging you are people that have never done it, never
Yeah.
tried it. Um,
The way I
they
see it,
don't,
it's
they
like
don't
you're
know.
driving on a highway and someone speeds by you and just like flips you off. And you're like, "What? Why?" And then they just keep going and
Yeah.
you never see them again. Like it's has nothing to do with your life. You just keep
Yeah.
driving. Just stay in your lane.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Th- They're having a bad day.
Yeah, that's it. So I get that. But I don't know if going back to like YouTube has totally changed the game for me, like helped me connect to my audience in a deeper way. So I think that's why I put so much effort here rather than elsewhere. Like on Instagram, it has changed so much I can't even keep up. I try to post regularly,
Mhm.
but I don't even look at the analytics anymore because I don't even
Mhm.
want to know what's happening there. But the people who do interact on Instagram are still, they seem genuine, and like I do enjoy
Hmm.
connecting with people. So I don't completely ignore it, but I just try not to put so much emphasis on it because I don't know what's happening over there. Like, is it going to disappear in a year? And after I spent all that
Well,
effort, I don't
yeah.
know. So,
I don't know. I would say as just like as a person who uses social media as
mm,
just like for fun or to scroll or
yeah,
whatever, I enjoy Instagram because I like how visual it is. I like that because of the type of accounts that I follow, there's no drama. I'm just there to see pretty artwork. So I like using it as a
yeah,
user as long as it's, I'm seeing the people I actually follow, which is the big problem with Instagram. I don't
right.
necessarily
You have
see
to remember to
who I'm
click the
following.
following thing, otherwise you see
Yeah.
everything else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But I do like that. And I'm kind of, and I don't have a lot of growth there. I've been on there for quite a long time. And, I mean, I, compared to a lot of artists, I don't have a lot of followers, but I mean, there's 20,000 people that said, yeah, I'll look at what
Mm,
she's doing. So I'm like, hey, that's great. There's 20,000 people here that, maybe 2,000 of them will see a particular post, but I don't use Instagram as far as like brand building or anything. I
yeah.
enjoy posting my artwork there. I kind of use it as a portfolio, I guess I could say. Go to,
Yeah.
tag me on Instagram and I love doing the art challenges because like
Yeah.
I don't know, I like Inktober, I like World Watercolor Month, I like the food paint challenge and these
Hmm.
different I think it's really fun that somebody's like, "Hey, I like to paint buildings. Do you like to paint buildings? Here's a picture of a building. Paint this building with it."
Yeah.
I think it's just I love the community of it. But as
Yeah.
far as
It is
like it being
very
brand building,
shareable. Yeah.
yeah.
I like the stories because it's like a little snippet of someone's day. I tend to
Hmm.
use it more to like share that side of life that's a little
Hmm.
behind the scenes and sketches and things like that. But so I could I agree. It's more social. It is social media, obviously. To
Hmm.
me, it's not as much business as it is social. But I
Hmm.
just every time I feel like every time every other week I log in, it's like something has changed. What is going on? Or
Yeah,
lately,
I don't
especially,
try
it's
to
so many ads that I just
yeah.
get exhausted. And
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I'm like the reels. I wish there was an option to turn off reels
Oh, I
because
know.
I love to look at I love the still photos. I want to zoom in. I want to see that little,
Yeah.
that brush stroke. I want to see that detail. If it's like
Hmm.
I follow a lot of art journalers too. It's like I want to zoom in. I want to see that little embellishment or that
Yeah.
little pattern that you made with a pen in the corner. I just love those delicious little details. And I don't
Yeah.
having a camera moving around. If I want to watch a video, I watch a video on YouTube. If I want to
Hmm.
see a still photo. I want to be able to just take my time, like I would with a magazine, and just appreciate this artwork that's in front of me that someone took the time to make and then upload.
Yeah.
But I don't use Instagram as like some powerful business tool just because I never got it. I guess I've never
Yeah.
been good at Instagram. It's been definitely the slow and steady type
Hmm.
thing, but I love the community that's over there.
Yeah.
And I think it's just such a nice way to look at other people's work too.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, it definitely has a lot of negatives. And threads, I do not like threads. I feel like
Oh, I don't
that's
even know
Twitter,
what that
but
is. I know it
I
exists.
don't know.
It's a whole different
There's
app
some,
now. So I don't know.
it's weird. It's so weird. It's kind of like, I kind of grabbed my account just because I had Instagram. So I'm like, well, I'll just make sure I can keep my name over there. And then you'll see little advertisements for, not an advertisement, but I guess it's like a little carousel of like the first sentence of people's posts. And of course, it's the most like incendiary posts. It's
Oh,
the
of
ones that are
course.
trying to like catch people's passion
Yeah.
and attention and stuff. And it just seems to be a lot of people over there, like Twitter, they're just yelling into the void or trying to get
Mm.
people riled up. And I don't like that, just people trying to get other people riled up just for the sake of
Yeah.
attention and views. And that's what I see over there. That's what I saw on Twitter. I never
Oh,
felt comfortable on Twitter or
I
on
know.
Threads now.
I
It's
used to
just
think
it seems
like
like it's a
way
race to the
years
bottom.
ago. Yeah, years ago I thought Twitter was useful and kind of cool, but then it did just feel very toxic after some point. I just stopped using it. And I think my blog auto posted there for a while, but then it
Mine too.
disconnected and I was like, "Oh, I should probably reset that up," but now I don't even want to do that. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'd say just pick one or two things in apps, I guess, that you enjoy using and focus on those and try to take the pressure off of making every post perfect and see it
Hmm.
more as like a snippet of your life. I think people just like seeing what other people's lives are like, especially artists and creative people. I know I do. So,
I do too. I do. That's a great thing
yeah.
about art is that there's somebody making it. It's not like the big debate about artificial intelligence art and whatnot, but like I love seeing the messy supplies on the desk in the background. I love
Mhm.
seeing the
Yeah.
art in progress or well, I mean that's a nice thing about reels. I guess you're actually seeing like an artist put down some brush strokes, which can be very informative
Hmm.
to see how somebody else is doing it. And but yeah, that's never going to be well, I say never, but I don't think that'll ever be captured by AI. Seeing that mess in the background, seeing the brushstroke from the
Right.
hand, that those elements make us human. I think that's going to be much more valuable too going forward as we try to
Yeah.
pick out, is that real art? Was that
I
AI art?
know. It
As
actually
the
gave
lines get
me,
blurred. Yeah.
reaffirmed my excitement, I guess, about YouTube because, yeah, someone could easily copy my art with AI or however, but like, would you watch a purely AI made video of someone walking around outside of the painting? Like, I like to,
Mm.
if I share the experience of doing the thing, that's the value. That's where the value comes from, not the finished piece or the final thing. So it just was like, okay, cool. Like, if I keep doing my thing that I enjoy doing, I'm not super worried about, getting my whole identity stolen by AI. I know there's
Yeah.
some apps out there like WebGlaze and stuff that you can use to you upload your art to it and then it like spits it out in a way AI can't read. If
Mm.
you're interested, you could go check that out. But there's little things like that starting to help, but I don't know. I'm sure
Yeah. It's
I'm not aware of all of the different ways AI is working out there. So I'm staying in my lane. I enjoy making videos about the process, so I'm going to keep doing that.
mhm.
And like
Yeah,
you
and I
said,
think
sharing the desk, the messy desk. I love a
yeah.
messy desk.
Yes. There was this and it's still going. It's called What's on your work desk Wednesday, which was like a challenge blog
Ah,
and people just post. Yeah, it's still going.
oh, I love
And you
it.
can just go and see this huge everyone can just like if you want to take a picture of your desk on a Wednesday, then you post it on your blog and you leave a link on
That's
this
cute. I
website
like
and then
that.
there's this huge list of people sharing their workspaces and it's so fun to see. I'm just nosy. I'm like, what do you got over there? Ooh,
Yeah.
what's that? I want to see. Oh, I have that. I want to try that.
Yeah.
I find looking at what other people are using. If it's something I own too, I might have forgotten about it. And I'm like, oh,
Mm,
that looks really cool. That's inspiring. I got to get that up and play with it. So,
yeah.
yeah, it's fun. It's a little peek behind the curtains a bit, and
Yeah.
um, it's nice to see. I don't think art teachers are going to have as much of a problem with AI because people are always
Mm,
going to want to learn, and they're not going to want to learn from a computer. They're going to want to learn from
mm,
a real person, and it may mean that maybe the online tutorials aren't as popular, and people want to get like I think people ebb and flow, and if
mm.
everything you're getting is AI and online, I think you're going to be like, hey, I need to see a person. I need to go to a class. I need to sit around a table with other people. I need to go
Yeah.
on a workshop or something like that that will, make them more connected
Feel
because I don't
alive.
feel a connection. What's that?
Yeah, and just make them feel
Yeah.
alive, like, yeah, I get that. I'm definitely an introvert and a homebody, so I have limited interaction with people in the real world, but I still need it. Like I do crave it, and
Mhm.
especially in an art setting, it is so wonderful and so fulfilling to connect with people in that way. And I'll just take as much time as I need to recover after. That's fine. But the more I was finding myself not doing that, I was like, I actually need this. I know I'm an introvert, but I need this. And I was like, it's okay to need it. And yeah, I don't think everyone needs it as much as others, but it's if you can find like a community of some kind in person, it will make a big impact on your life. Even if it's just a meetup, like I have a local art meetup once a month. Not so much now in the coldest part of the year, but like in the summer, especially most of the year, we meet up once a month, and it's so nice.
Yeah, I joined the Plein Air Painters of Maine group on Facebook, and whenever anyone's going painting, they just post it. The only rule is it has to be free, and there has to
Mm.
be restrooms available like
Mm.
nearby, and
It's
they
a
can
good
list
idea.
if there's yeah, so they can list if
Yeah.
there's like handicap accessibility, what it's like, and you know that at least one other person's going to be there, which is
Yeah.
handy. And I met some nice ladies doing that, and I bet there's more of those little groups that you might not be aware of on, this was
Hmm.
on Facebook. So you search plein air painters in your state, you may find
Yep.
that there's something there that you can join in
Or
on.
urban
And
sketching, because like I
yeah,
ours varies between like going to somewhere remote and going somewhere more with buildings. So like there's all different terms you could try searching for in your area. And even our area, I mean, our area is within, 2 hour driving distance. So it's not
hmm
the just immediate this town. So if you are somewhere remote, it might exist. You might just have to make a little bit more effort, but it is always
hmm
worth it. It's always worth it for me anyway.
Yeah, and and if you can't get out, there are also groups online that you can
Hmm.
find that will do something
Yeah.
like we're doing here. It would be like a Zoom group. It wouldn't be broadcast on the like internet for the public, but you would have like a private Zoom group or a Facebook group or something,
Hmm.
and you'd be hanging out with people,
Yeah.
and you could share what you're working on, or just to draw together. And
Yeah.
there's lots of little groups like that too. So look around and find your tribe, and
Yeah.
make connections and make art.
Yes. It's a good
Well, I think that's a good way
it's a good
to
ending
wrap
point.
this
Make
up.
art.
Do you have anything you'd like to add before we go?
Oh, I think we've covered a lot of topics and I
I think
really
so too.
appreciate this. It's been fun and it was really fun talking to you, and hopefully I didn't ramble too much.
Not at all. Look, you're talking to the the talking
I look
queen.
forward to
So,
your sat chat tomorrow.
oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I got to go film that after this. So hopefully
Oh,
the headphones haven't matted down my hair too much.
you'll
But
be sitting
I want
there
to
like
thank you.
fluffing it and flipping
I'll be
it.
fluffing. I'll be fluffing. People will be annoyed. Like, stop flipping your hair.
Why do they get
So
annoyed
come
about
on.
that?
Oh yeah, they get annoyed about that. There's always
Oh,
something. There's always something.
just do it
I will put
with
links to
extra sass.
extra flair.
Yeah.
Flipping the hair with extra flair today. Um, well, I will leave links to your YouTube channel, your blog, your website, your
Oh,
Patreon, anywhere
thanks.
else folks can find you. And yeah, definitely give Sarah a follow because she creates the most beautiful. Her not only is her artwork second to none, but her cinematography and her videos are like what all the rest of us muggles on YouTube making videos aspire to. It's just so beautiful, and it
Oh,
kind of
we all
takes you on a
make
little mini
magic in our own
vacation.
ways. You make magic in
It's
your
like
own way
going on.
too.
Oh, thank you so much. I love it because it's like I'm taking a little mini vacation to Scotland and I don't have to pay for an
Yeah,
airline
there you
ticket.
go.
So there we go. Uh, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. I do appreciate it. Tell your friends. And until next time, happy crafting.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.